Hey guys, Lindsay here from Saddle Up. Today we are going to be doing a video on spring cleaning. And what I mean by that is these are the things that you should be going over maybe after you've taken a break from riding or your saddles have sat through the winter, and just go over and check all of these pieces and parts before you really get back in the season of riding really hard and consistently. These are just things that we see in our shop that get missed and can definitely cause comfort issues for you and the horse, and as well as safety concerns. So we're going to be diving in, looking at a brand new saddle, showing you what to go over when you're breaking your saddle back out. I'm going to show you some not good examples and go over some cleaning tips. So let's get started. So first things first, if you get your saddle out and you're noticing that the leather is maybe a little dry, dirty, or just needs some maintenance, you can absolutely give it a quick clean, condition, whatever product you prefer. We use a product in here called Leather CPR. It's a cleaner and a conditioner. It works great on the slick leather here. For rough out specifically, you need to be using a white saddle soap. Another trick with rough out, if you take a really low grade of sandpaper and just rough it back up, then it'll take probably those blue jean stains out, any dirt, and it'll make that rough out a little stickier than it was since you've kind of worn it down. So that is the key difference. If it's rough out, it needs to be a different cleaner. But we use Leather CPR if you're just noticing that your saddle needs a little sprucing after sitting. If it's a synthetic or a suede type of saddle, then honestly, you can take a sponge and just dust it off, or on the Cordura, you can take a lightly damp cloth and just wipe it down. So different things for different materials, but if you think your saddle needs a clean, that's what we would recommend. Next thing, when we're pulling our saddles out after we haven't seen them in a long time or used them in a long time, we really want to stress that you need to check all of your strap goods. This is something you should be doing, in my opinion, every season to season, so meaning every spring or every fall, whichever you choose, because this stuff we put through a lot and there's a lot of wear and tear, and it can definitely not appear to be in bad shape, but the structures of it might be. So it's just important to keep an eye on these things. Again, this is a huge safety thing. So the first thing that I am going to always recommend, if you haven't replaced them in a long time, or like I said, your saddle or stuff has been sitting for a little bit, you definitely need to check your latigos and off billets, regardless if it's leather or nylon. You need to check these, make sure that your holes aren't ripping, make sure that if it's leather, the leather isn't dry rotting. If it's nylon, that there's no fraying spots or spots that are coming unraveled that could potentially tear, because that is a huge thing. We do see that sometimes. Granted, this stuff is strong, it's made to be durable, but after so many rides, you definitely need to replace these. So looking for any cracking, rips, tears, whatever that may be that looks unsafe. This should be done on your offside and on your latigo side, just going over a little once over, making sure everything looks good. I always recommend doing your rear billets too. Any strap goods, that's the biggest thing I can stress. Even this, your rear cinch connector, make sure that like these little leather ties aren't tearing or ripping, that the holes are still intact. Dry rot is a huge thing, especially in Colorado. We're such a dry state. It can definitely take a toll on our leather products. So making sure, even if you have saddle strings, making sure that they're still intact and don't need a replacement. So I'm going to be showing some examples of stuff that needed to be replaced or brand new products, just so you can see the difference. Granted, this is a brand new saddle, so a little harder to demonstrate, but I will show you some examples of things that if yours looks like this, it needs replaced. My biggest thing is if you're in doubt or questioning, just replace it, just to be on the safe side. You never know what can happen, and I think it's better to be safe than have something bad or catastrophic happen. But biggest thing that I can stress is just checking your strap goods on not just your saddle, but all of your tack in general. So I'm going to be showing you, I have a brand new leather latigo here and then a brand new nylon latigo here. So I'm going to do just a close-up of these two. If yours look like this, then you're totally fine. Granted, I will say a little wear is not a bad thing, but if there's anything like these next examples I'm going to show, then it is time to get a new set. So as you can see with this leather latigo, holes are still intact, everything looks safe, the leather is not cracking or ripping in any spot. And here is a brand new nylon latigo. As you can see, the nylon's still intact, there's no frays, the holes aren't ripping through, and it looks perfectly fine. Now let's look at some bad examples. Okay, so here I have, this is a rear billet actually, but it's the same thing that we're kind of going over. So obviously this is very dry, it's starting to curl. So that's not the end of the world. You could still use something like this, but doing a little conditioning might help it out a lot. This is what I'm talking about though when I mean anything that is unsafe. So as you can see, without me bending it, we already have some kind of wrinkling here in the leather, up here as well. Marks like this is okay. That's not concerning. That is going to happen when you use these items, but anything like that hole's kind of starting to get a little larger right there, so, you know, could be time to replace if it looked like that, but this is the big concerning part. So here we have, you can see some of the stitching is coming maybe a little frayed and undone. This right here, how this is cracking and wrinkling, that is a huge safety concern. That is kind of our first thought as to dry rot. That would be what I would think. This leather has some dry rot to it. When I bend it like that, I know you guys probably can't hear it, but it's crunching and you can see it start separating, especially right here, and it just is not looking too good. So if anything of yours looks like this, it is definitely time to replace it. There is no coming back from that. Leather conditioner is not going to fix something like that. It's just time to get a new one. For our nylon here, this one is not bad. Like, I think this would still be okay to use, but it's just something to keep an eye on. So how this is starting to fray, there's definitely some holes that are expanding and ripping through. And there's a lot of frayed material here, which can lead to issues, especially here on the sides. There's some little flyaways there. So something like this, I do think it would probably be better to replace it now, or at least in the next season. And you can see too the kind of discoloration here. It's been stretched, so that's why that's happening. But all of these holes are very frayed and have grown in size, meaning that they are kind of working their way towards ripping. This is another important piece to check, because oftentimes we'll see these rip clean through after, you know, a few years. Same thing, you want to make sure that here where it folds over your rigging that it's not tearing or ripping. Normally these have leather ties through here, and it's also important to check those leather ties and make sure that there's no damages to that either. Okay, going back to our saddle for a second, we've covered that you should really be checking all of your strap goods. Obviously, just give a once over, like if you have any stitching coming undone or any pieces or parts that are broken on your saddle, like your fenders are a big one. If you're noticing, same thing on your stirrup leathers, if these holes are ripping through or something is looking damaged, then it would be good to check with a saddle repair person, because this is a very important piece. Your stirrup hobbles, we've gone over these before, making sure that these holes aren't ripping or that there's no damages to the leather. Make sure your stirrups are still intact. Pretty much just anything you can think of, just check it and make sure. Another thing that I think is very important is we want to go ahead and check the fleece on your saddle too. So from the saddle sitting on saddle stands, which is where we store them, obviously we store them that way here too, it can definitely break down that fleece over time. So it's just good to make sure that your fleece is still intact, that there's no rips, holes, no parts that are just super worn down, almost so that it's not giving enough protection for the horse's back when it's actually on. Making sure that there's no screws sticking out, that the stitching hasn't come loose. I know this sounds crazy, but making sure that there's no spiders or anything that have gotten into your saddle fleece if your saddle has been sitting for a while. So really just going over, kind of like your car, how you would maintain your car, oil change, all that stuff, making sure that every piece on this saddle and all your tack is safe and ready to go, not only for you, but for your horse as well. Another tip that I have, if you are wanting to clean and condition your saddle, if you have a newer saddle and it still hasn't quite been broke in yet and maybe it's still squeaking, the best trick, saddle oil, leather cleaner, all that stuff that is not going to take the squeak away, ultimately riding in it, breaking it in, that's going to be the main thing that helps that squeaky. But the best thing, and it sounds crazy, you want just regular old baby powder. You can get it from the dollar store, Walmart, whatever is best for you. But what you do is you're gonna turn the saddle up on its side. You can do it on a stand like this, and you lift up the seat jockey here. You can lift the fenders too. You're gonna just douse the inside of this tree with baby powder. So just, I mean, go to town, all up inside that tree. You don't really need to work it or anything, but get up under this skirt in the rear housing, get up under the fenders, especially in the seat jockey, and you're gonna do that process on both sides. You can do this multiple times, but you'll be surprised how much of the squeak the baby powder takes out like that. That is the key to getting squeak out of your saddles faster, not cleaner or oil or anything, baby powder. Another thing to check while we're at it, I'm just going to mention it, make sure your rigging is still intact. Make sure all the hardware and everything that is holding the structure of the saddle together still looks good and that there's no damages, because again, it'd be better to replace or have repairs than you get into a pickle when you're actually on a horse. So making sure, check every part, even if it seems very minimalistic, check it. Make sure everything is safe and ready to go. You should definitely be looking at all of your tack too, not just your saddle. So I think it's a great time when you are getting ready to kind of hit the riding season again, that you just go ahead and clean everything. I'm really big about that. Like in the spring, I clean all my cinches, all my pads. I do the whole shebang. So I'm a big stickler on making sure your pads and cinches are clean, because even if your saddle fits completely fine, it can cause a lot of issues. It can cause fungus, one thing, it can cause sores, it can cause soreness in the back. So I think it's just really important and is lacking sometimes. So I just want to go over this. If you have a saddle pad and you go to pull it out and it looks like this should be cleaned. You should not be riding in something. I get that they get used and they're going to get horsehair on them. That's totally fine. But make sure that there's no crusty spots from sweat. Make sure that there's no hair buildup like this. Make sure there's no stickers or anything like that. Make sure that your stitching isn't coming undone. But the big thing is, if your pad looks like this, you should definitely clean it. And you don't have to go crazy. You can take just a regular curry comb and you can just brush the hair right here. You can take like one of those palm stones and do the same thing. You don't want to do anything too aggressive that would damage the felt or whatever material your pad is. Obviously, if it's a neoprene or a wool, you would not want to do that. Neoprene, you can just kind of hose off or clean in that sense. Wool's a little bit trickier. Definitely don't brush it. That will just rip those pads up. Wool's definitely going to be a little trickier to clean. Felt is pretty easy. You can use your curry comb, the Groom Ninjas, whatever is easiest. You can definitely just do that before you ride, after you ride, whatever. If you stay on top of it, then it doesn't end up looking like this. So just make sure that this is not happening, because this could definitely cause your horse a lot of discomfort. Another thing too that I actually just tried, I tried the 5-star saddle pad soap cleaner. And basically you brush it and then you just coat the underside of your saddle pad with this spray, leave it set for 30 minutes, and then you take a garden hose and just lightly hose it off. Works like a charm. So just want to demonstrate that. Definitely clean your pads. Same thing goes with our front cinches. So again, you can use, depending on the material, like I use a mohair. Before I ride, I take my curry comb and I just brush the hair and everything off, and it works really great. I wash mine about once a year. Mohair is actually really easy to clean. The best way to do this, you want to just take like a bucket of warm-ish, it could be a little more on the cold side, it doesn't have to be hot, but you want to take a bucket, fill it with some water, and put horse shampoo in it. Horse shampoo is going to be the most safe option for horses, obviously, because we wash them with it, so it's not going to irritate them. If there's some still left on this cinch, it's not going to cause any skin problems or breakouts, maybe hives or something like that. So horse shampoo is the best option. You're going to soak this in horse shampoo. You can lightly just take your fingers and scrub it, but I usually leave mine soak for just a little bit and then scrub it. And again, take your hose it off and let it dry, and they are good as new. But definitely make sure you're cleaning your cinches too, whether that be after every ride or just keeping an eye on it. And again, making sure that all your hardware is still intact and there's no damages, especially with cinches, like these mohair cinches. If any of these strings come undone or they start fraying or separating or stretching, then it might be time to upgrade. If you are riding in a neoprene cinch, make sure that the back or the webbing is not coming out in chunks, because sometimes they will do that, or they start to get wrinkles in the neoprene. So definitely pay attention to that. On a neoprene cinch, same thing. You can just use water. It's just super easy to clean. On fleece, again, fleece is just really tricky. It's a very specific material, so I would not brush or put fleece in water, but that's just my opinion. I do not use a fleece cinch, but just making sure that you're checking for stickers, damages, and making sure your cinch is cleaned as well. Next thing, I know not everyone is probably going to use sport boots or polo wraps or anything of the sort, but if you do, these are also very important to check and keep clean. You want to make sure that, again, there's no stickers, no matted hair inside, or an excessive amount of mud or dirt. Make sure that your stitching isn't coming undone. Make sure that this Velcro isn't coming off, because sometimes after so many uses, this will start to separate here or it might not stick. So make sure that they are still in good condition and don't need replacing, and definitely remember to clean these too. These are very easy. You can use horse shampoo if you'd like, just open up the insides, scrub them and hose them off, or even just hosing them off does wonders, but just making sure that you're keeping your horses comfy and everything clean, and again, just checking for any damages. And last but not least, you want to go over, like I said, all your tacks. So this includes your breast collars, making sure that your D-rings are still intact, that any of your tie-down straps, meaning the strap that goes between the horse's legs, make sure that leather is in working order and not damaged in any sorts. Just check everything. Check everything for any safety or comfort issues, because like I said, it's just better to replace if needed than have an accident. So even on your breast collars, you're gonna wanna check that in your stitching. On your bridles, headstalls, reins, the whole 9 yards. Again, we're gonna make sure that our leather is not damaged, cracking, dry rotted, any of those, making sure that your hardware is still intact and safely attached. Any of these leather keepers or leather ties, making sure that they aren't damaged as well. This one right here at the bit, it has the leather ties. These can get stretched out and crack pretty easily, so making sure that these still look okay. Making sure that your curb strap, same thing, no dry rot, no cracking, no tears or rips. Making sure your bit is still good, meaning that there's no rough spots, damages in the mouthpiece, anything like that. Same with your reins, making sure that your reins are still in good condition. There's no ripping or anything that could cause you issues. The big thing that I see, and I will demonstrate, let me get another headstall. On any of your tack, if you have this little guy right here, this is called a Chicago screw. We probably are all very familiar with Chicago screws and how pesky they can be. These are on a lot of different tack items, meaning they can be on your headstalls, obviously, sometimes they're on your reins, sometimes the conchos on your breast collars, whatever that may be. These are really good things to keep an eye on, because they can come unloose and fall off pretty easily. We have so many people always that say, oh yeah, my Chicago screw fell out of my headstall while I was riding, or when I went to get it and I can't, of course you can't find them. They're so small. When they fall, it's pretty hard to find them. But they're not a bad design, but like I said, they're pesky. They like to cause a lot of issues. So make sure that your Chicago screws are tight. If you're having issues with it, you can always take this screw out and drip a few drops of nail polish back in the screw and screw it back down. That is going to act as sort of a glue or a Loctite, but if you need to change the bit, it's easier to break than if you used Loctite. That's the biggest issue we run into with Loctite. Once you get it in there, it's really hard to break that. But another good thing, just check your Chicago screws, make sure none of them are missing, make sure they're tight, and that you're good to go. So my famous words of this video, and you'll probably get tired of me saying it, is just check everything. You want to check all over your saddle, you want to check all of your tack, all your items, whether it's a very big piece or a very small piece, it definitely matters. It's better to stay on top of it and be aware of it, because then those things are less likely to give out, or bad things are less likely to happen. Meaning, any damages to the leather or something breaking while you're riding. If you don't stay on top of it, then those things are more likely to happen. And at the end of the day, it's a comfort and a safety thing. We do not want to see anybody's latigo break while they're riding, or anyone's Chicago screws coming off while they're riding, and the bit falling out of the horse's mouth, because those are real things. They do happen. And we are just trying to educate and hopefully save you from that happening. So if you are getting back into riding, you're gearing up for the season, do your little spring cleaning technique that we looked at here today. Go over your saddle, go over your tack items, clean if necessary, and just make sure that all your tack pieces are good and safe and ready to go. As always, thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, comments, video ideas, anything, comment down below, and make sure to subscribe so you can stay on top of when we post new videos. Thanks again, and hope you guys have a good day. We'll catch you later. Bye.